I was tasked to investigate reports of a missing child named Georgie. As I arrived at the Piggy's household for any leads, I began to notice things were off. It was unusually quiet and quaint. A breeze of unease shrouded me as I stepped out of my vehicle. Without a moment to react, I blacked out and woke up in the bedroom of the house with a beaming headache. Someone had knocked me out and brought me here, but why? If they wanted to get rid of me, why didn't they finish the job? While attempting to piece things together, I encountered a strange, crazed pig with different eyes and a hunger for harm. It didn't talk, it just chased me. Terrifying. As soon as I escaped the house, I decided to get back to the station and get help. What we have here seems to be much more than a missing animal case. When I reached the station, I had found it to be unusually quiet. No officers celebrating, no criminals rattling their cell doors, nothing. Then, the intercom system spurted out a warning to get to the garage. The voice sounded familiar. It was Doggy, my old partner. I don't know why he showed up on his day off. Maybe it was a distress call that all officers received while I was unconscious in the Piggy house. As I crept about to unlock the garage, I encountered yet another strange-looking pig. It appeared to have black eyes and a violent attitude, just like the last one. What is it with these animals? What happened to them? And what made them like this? Once I opened the garage door, fueled the escape car and left with Doggy, I felt a sense of dread overwhelm me. I got out, but did not feel safe. I needed to find out what was going on. It turns out the gas can I picked up was almost empty, because we found ourselves running out pretty quick. To make matters even worse, we stopped in the middle of the city. A couple of the infected, as Doggy calls them, surrounded our car. We rushed into the nearby building, the gallery. I haven't been here since we started investigating a reported robbery last month. It seemed to be a little run down, as well. We quickly sealed the building, only to soon realize that the infected entered as well. It was very strange to see a place, once so calm, become so chaotic. Doggy told me that he never liked galleries anyway. Doggy and I had been safe and sound in this forest for weeks now. We've been silently visiting small towns and taking supplies from them. We spoke for days about what we'll do when it's over. Doggy said he'd like to travel south someday and visit old monuments and ruins. I don't know what I'd do. I couldn't get my mind on the world state. One night, I woke up to discover a broken and empty potion, and a missing friend. I looked around and found Doggy. He was one of them. My gut sank, and I felt weak. Where did this potion come from? And why did he drink it? Was he forced to? He had red eyes, not like the others. Someday, I will get to the bottom of this. As I left the forest to no longer be faced with such a harsh blow to my heart, I came across a radio with a voice that instructed me to head to a school. Clinging on to anything to distract my mind, I followed their instructions. Still recovering from the loss of Doggy, I felt out of touch with reality, like I was a blur just floating through time. However, I pressed on. The radio I found in the forest instructed me to help them out and find their friend trapped in the school. Maybe if I couldn't save my friend, I could save theirs. That's when I met Bunny. A sharpshooter bunny with an eye patch. She had barricaded herself in the school surveillance room after a failed supply run. She was very kind, not to mention thankful. Her enthusiasm inspired me to be strong and get a hold of myself. As we headed to the sewers to meet up with the mysterious radio voice, my head started burning up. I did not feel too well at all. I ignored it and continued moving forward. We met with Mr. P, a very rich celebrity. It was certainly strange to find someone of his status walking about in the sewers. He thanked me for my help, but the more he spoke, the harder I found it to pay attention. My head hurt more and more until I passed out there. The last thing I remember was being wheeled in a hospital and seeing Doggy. I woke up in a hospital with Bunny on my side. She seemed to lighten up when she saw my eyes open. Bunny explained that Mr. P and the researchers didn't think I'd make it, as I showed minimal symptoms of the infection. She didn't give up on me, though. I rescued her, so she believed it was her duty to protect me from being tossed out and deemed a lost cause. Bunny also told me that I woke up in the perfect time, as the place was being evacuated. A doctor was infected and caused severe panic. I jumped out of bed and got to the rooftop, where the helicopter was supposedly waiting for us. They left without us to who knows where. Bunny and I needed to come up with a way to get out of the hospital ourselves, and fast. We made our way through the hospital and down to the underground metro. Bunny and I spoke about Mr. P. I told her my disbelief in him. I could not understand why he would not wait a moment longer for us. She explained that lately, he has become more and more delusional and obsessed with his search for a cure. Upon finally reaching the metro, I started to work on the repairs for the tram. Bunny sat down, not feeling too well. She told me she needed to rest a little before going on, and lent me her crossbow. When the repairs were ready, she told me she was infected. I was very reluctant to believe her. She explained that she was one of the test subjects of Mr. P's cure tests in the hospital. Hers did not go so well. I told her we could find a cure, and she could hold on long enough to find it. Bunny didn't want to go on as she feared putting me in danger. I got on the tram, looking back at her as she stayed behind to fight off any infected that may still be there. My heart hurt, and my fist clenched. I was going to find Mr. P. I arrived at Mr. P's carnival to search for any leads on where he may be. Unfortunately, there was not much to be found besides an infected fox, trapped in a cage. I shiver at the thoughts of how he could have possibly ended up like that. I met two survivors there, Zizzy and Pony. Zizzy was a cunning, skilled fencer, and Pony was a clumsy yet comforting ally. They were kind enough to allow me to join them. They told me they were on a supply run, but found me on the way and trusted me enough. As I was led back to their safe house, they spoke a lot about untrustworthy people, and how I should watch out for them. It seemed that this whole situation really brought out the worst in some. We arrived at the city, a rundown mess. They set up their safe house in a hotel, as it had plenty of beds and supplies. Recently, they've been running low. It was there I learned a few things about my two new allies. Zizzy taught her younger sisters, Z and Zuzi, how to fight. Pony studied optometry like his father. I told them my story, and how I was searching for Mr. P. Saying his name struck something in me, negative emotion that burned inside my gut. As we spoke, we discovered a mysterious figure watching us. It didn't seem to be an infected, as if ran away when we noticed it. Zizzy and I ran after it. We chased the figure to the mall, only to discover that it was Georgie, the missing child. He had a deep fear in his eyes when we found him in his little fort, coupled with an awful stench. I asked him why he went missing. He told me about his family. They visited the hospital without him and came back acting strange. So, he ran off to find his grandmother in the city in hopes that she could help him out. Unfortunately for him, the city seemed to all act the same way his family did by the time he got here. So, he hid himself. This poor cruel world took his family away from him. I could not imagine what that must feel like at his age. So, we brought him back to the safe house with us. It was there I met the Safe Place crew. Zizzy's sisters, Mimi and Giraffe. Mimi was a smart engineer. She knew her way around technology quite well. Giraffe was a tough guy with a strong passion for nature and ecology. He loved plants. The meeting was short-lived however, as Mimi had managed to find a working helicopter signal at the nearby military outpost. Pony informed us of the news. We left Georgie in the care of the others as Pony, Zizzy and I journeyed to the outpost. The outpost was swarming with infected soldiers. The three of us opened the sealed doors of the plant, where Mr. P presumably flew to. As I prepared to enter, Georgie showed up. He snuck out of the safe place and followed us. I was not pleased to see him at all, because he could have easily been harmed. It was a relief to see him unscathed, though. I can't say I was surprised after finding out how well he managed on his own. He wanted to see Mr. P, the one responsible for making his family act the way they did. I reluctantly agreed to bring him along as long as he remained closed and out of any more trouble. Georgie and I entered the plant, leaving Zizzy and Pony to fend off against the soldiers and protect us from being swarmed. It was there that we found Mr. P, speaking strangely. He seemed to hold a deep regret for his actions, and could not seem to cope with them. When he realized we were there, he believed we were nothing but ghosts who had come to haunt him. Mr. P was unable to come to terms with reality and ran off. We followed him for a final confrontation. Mr. P's delusional thoughts grew wilder as he began to attack us in an attempt to get us to leave him alone. We persisted in trying to get his attention, but he would not listen. He was in a world of his own, blinded by his remorse. It was not long before I, too, began to suffer from unwanted thoughts. I cycled through my own memories, being attacked by the past. I was searching for something, anything to get me back to the real world. That was until I found a photo of Mr. P's wife. I showed it to him, and that was when it all came back to him. He finally came to terms with his actions, seeing us no longer as regretful memories. He told us his story. He did everything he could to save his wife who was suffering from a sickness, and caused the world to burn in the process. Nothing hurt him more in this world than himself, and he was afraid of his actions. He became more and more desperate for solutions, sacrificing those closest to him in the process. Georgie was upset and wanted revenge, but I convinced him not to do anything to him. If he harmed Mr. P, he would not be any better than Mr. P. He was too blinded by his emotions to realize what he was doing, and if Georgie went through with it, he too would have suffered just like him. We soon left the plant, leaving behind Mr. P. Zizzy and Pony greeted us with a great joy. With the search for Mr. P finally over, we were unsure of what to do. We were all stopped to take a moment to think. Then, Georgie's face lit up as he came up with an idea. What if we looked for a cure? Maybe it wasn't such a ridiculous idea. We live in a world full of sorts of people, so perhaps it wouldn't be too far-fetched to come across someone working on something that could help us out. There is only one way to find out.